Hello and welcome to the Video Gamer UK podcast. My name is Matt Lees with some strange intonation. I'm joined by Simon Miller.
Hello.
Chris Bratt.
Hey there.
And Stephen Burns.
Yep.
Stephen Burns. I like saying your name, Steve. Does that bother you?
Not really.
Cool. How's everyone doing today?
I'm good. I'm pumped. I'm ready. I'm happy. I'm elated and jovial.
I'm not pumped. I need to sort out
What's
my...
a pump?
I need
Do
to...
some press-ups.
All right. I'll do one. I'll do one.
You going to do one? Oh, yeah, I'm going to do one on the pod. He's actually doing it as well. This isn't a
there's
joke.
so many wires going on
I'm watching
around
him for
his
form
legs.
here. He's stretching. Oh, no, he went right down. Oh, he went right down. No, he's doing two. He did two, and he didn't break form either.
And didn't break anything.
Oh,
No,
well,
wait,
not
no,
yet,
Tip
mate.
almost went
I
there.
almost broke something. To be fair, I didn't have my... I had my legs together for the first one.
That's okay,
So
but I think
it's
we've
quite
now
easy.
proven our worth that if there is some press-up competition in the world, you'd like us to commentate on it, then we are.
Absolutely, we
we're
are
here.
available.
And good.
Miller
Yeah,
can do
pretty
some
good.
work outside of hours. Can do any sort of thing.
Exactly.
You know,
Well-
this is going to be yet another reason for people to demand video podcasts because
No.
there's no way to prove that.
I-
You could have staged the whole thing.
Sometimes I
Come
like
on.
to just sit here blissfully and stare as I listen to people. No one needs to see my vacant stare.
No.
No.
So anyway, that was what's games? Games.
Well,
So
can I talk about Mario briefly?
Of course you
I don't
can.
want to talk about it
Of course
too
you
much
can,
because
babe.
we kind of cheers, mate. We kind of broke all the umbongos basically. We were talking about it before and we threw caution to the wind, but it's a real thing now. I just want to say that.
Exists
Well, I just want to
outside
say
your
that
mind.
I think between this and Zelda, Nintendo, it doesn't matter that next gen consoles have come out. The original next gen console wins Christmas for me, anyway.
I just
Everything
got
else-
to say Mario.
But it's true, Mario is, it's got 10s, man. I mean, I didn't give
It's
it
got
10.
10s across
I gave
the
it a
board,
9,
really.
But I would have given it a 10 if, I don't know really, if it
Do
felt
you
like a
feel
10.
like you'd used your 10 quota up?
Well, I maybe there's a little bit of that, but I think that was why I didn't give it a 10 because I didn't make me feel the way that Zelda made me feel. But it's very close. It's very close to making me feel that.
Interesting.
And it's still, the best thing about it is it's not one of these weird intermediate Mario games, what they have been doing for a long time. It's like a proper Mario game, just using the ideas that have been introduced over the last few years, which is lovely because you actually play it and go, oh my gosh, it's new and it's fresh. And it reminds me that when Nintendo do what they do, they're untouchable.
It
Really.
does look
Nobody
awesome.
can do what they do.
I've got to say, actually, I kind of skimmed a couple of reviews and I was kind of annoyed because a lot of people seem to have used screenshots that are a bit spoilery in my mind.
Well, they did that Nintendo Direct last week and turn down now just for a minute because I want to talk about it specifically.
Sure.
And they showed the Mario Kart level, which is, why would you do that? Why would you do that? And then there were screenshots everywhere and it went all over the internet. I was like, then there was a video. Unbelievable. Because that's what you don't want. I mean, that's just one of about 50 ideas, and they're never the same, and they always sort of tug at your heartstrings and
that's
stuff.
terrible.
And
Yeah,
I don't know why they did that. I don't know why
It's
they
kind
did
of weird.
that.
It tends to spoil their own stuff. But
There's
at
a
the same
Mario
time,
Kart level.
But
Ruined for
yeah,
it for me.
well,
Ruined it
what
for
if
me.
the person I told to turn down had just turned
Well-
back up and heard you say that?
Well, you didn't give them any kind of time period to turn down for. Anyway, they may never turn back up again.
Maybe dead.
chances are, though, if you do follow game stuff, you probably would have noticed that.
I think if you're the type of person that listens to gaming podcasts, you would have seen. You kind of missed it. I mean, Nintendo.
It wasn't flagged as a
pooed
spoiler.
it out everywhere.
Yeah, they did. They literally shat it all over the internet.
So, I mean, but that is why it's so good, is because that's just one of, like I say, of many. And every time it happens, you'll, just smile inside. And then
I'm really
Mario will do a
excited.
little dance
I'm
and
really
that will make you
excited.
happy. It's just awesome. And like the world that unlocks after you finish the game is, is basically looking at all these Mario fans that have said, oh, you don't make proper Mario anymore. And go, there you go. Have that. And it's just absolute. I mean, the last world, the proper last world, it will kick your ass. I've chatted to a lot of other people, and a lot of people who are very good at Mario games as well. They've all said, "My gosh, it gets hard. It's really tough in a good way, like in a Mario Galaxy kind of way."
Like it was
Mario
the last
64 more,
podcast or the
actually.
podcast before you were worried that it might be a little bit easier
It
than
takes
some
its-
Mario games, but
It takes its time to get difficult. Don't get me wrong. You have
in
to,
the chops at the end.
yeah, you have to get into sort of, I mean, there's 9 worlds in total, and you have to get sort of the latter stages of 6 before it starts going right. Okay, and if you're in co-op, I'm pretty sure there'd be a way you can,
Game it a bit.
game it a bit. But I mean, if you want to play it like a Mario game, like you would in the past, which I did, I only played it with you, Matt, in multiplayer. You can, and it feels like a classic Mario game. I mean, it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful, and it deserves to sell Wii U's. Most importantly, I don't know how much it will do that, but it is the game that should sell Wii U's and put it back on the map, and not a forgotten child
We've
of
been putting
yesterday.
off saying that for a while, haven't we? But I
But
guess
this really is though. I mean, this is like, if you're a gaming fan, especially of Mario, and you don't play this, you're missing out. I mean, much more than if you don't play Rise or Killzone or something like that. Like I'm not saying you can't like those games. You know, they may be exactly what you want, but you know, this is a very special game in what is arguably the biggest or the most well-known franchise in all of gaming. And if you don't play this, you miss out on something that's very, very special. I mean, it just is. If you don't play Rise, I don't think you get. I mean, you may enjoy Rise; it's quite fun, but you're not going to look back in a few years and go, "Oh, can't believe I didn't play Rise."
I've got to say, you know, we've had a lot of flack in the past for apparently being anti-Nintendo.
No, so right now I'm more pro Nintendo.
Yeah, no, just people who think that can take their hats off and eat them.
Yeah,
I don't,
unless they taste nice.
I don't like
you
that
don't get
argument.
to
I
eat your
think we've always said that we like the Wii U. It's just
no, absolutely. I mean, people have
the library. That was all. And yeah, it sounds like
I mean, if they do this with Mario Kart next year as well, I mean, if they really, because I mean, the defining change for me with Mario Kart, even though obviously it stuck to the same things, was the DS one. That's when it felt new again and fresh. If they can do that again on the Wii U and make it this, you've got to play Mario Kart, then maybe they can turn this around.
See, what's funny about the Wii U is that what happened with the Wii was that Nintendo basically just sold the console on their first-party software, i.e. like Wii Sports.
Always, yeah.
And then, but then it continued, and because Nintendo had control, I've probably said this before, but I'll say again, Nintendo had control of distribution, and they had control of what got distributed when, because Nintendo were the people who were basically putting games in boxes.
Is that when the seal of approval actually meant something?
Yeah, no. But what it still means, and I don't know if they changed the situation, but it used to be that if you wanted to have games on the Wii, they would have to go through Nintendo.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And so if you had a game coming out at Christmas and you're like, oh, Nintendo, we want to put it out, then Nintendo could happily go, oh, sorry, we can only make you 100,000 copies because we haven't got enough boxes.
Yeah.
But basically, it meant that it was a very clever way of controlling shelf space without actually having to have any contact with the stores. Because if you send them 2 million copies of Mario Galaxy and 50,000 copies of whatever Ubisoft have just made, you're going to sell more copies of... Yeah. But then the problem was that got them in a lot of trouble because of the fact that the Wii was a massive moneymaker, but hardly any third-party publishers made a lot of money. And there was horrible things like carnival games, like really shitty games.
Didn't that sell some horrific amount?
It was like more than...
Didn't that make 2K so much money?
It's
like,
it's the sort of thing that makes you realise there is no God.
They made a sequel one. Unbelievable.
It's really depressing stuff.
And now it seems that it's like the complete opposite. They do anything for that kind of third party.
Oh no, yeah, well, this is what happened.
They would love carnival games
because
carnival games.
They'd love it.
Apart from carnival games and a couple of other things that became bestsellers, most things just went out to die. And a lot of third-party publishers...
Yeah, it became the first-party machine.
Yeah,
like the GameCube, kind of like the N64.
Third parties were really angry about this because a lot of third parties felt like they got really shafted by Nintendo. And so with the Wii U, I think they decided to take a step back, let third parties have a bit of the limelight. But then, of course, it didn't work.
It didn't sell, so nobody wants to make it.
Nobody sold the consoles, and Ubisoft decided to pull out. And it seems like now what's happened is Nintendo have gone, well, we did let you guys try and have the limelight, but now it's time for us to...
Now the daddy's back and going to slap you down.
I think they've realised the only way to save it is to, slap them down with Mario.
Exactly. And they have done. What I do want to talk about before I stop talking and other people talk, because I did mention Rise. The review goes up tomorrow at 11 a.m, so we'll do it in a non-review way. But I have been playing Rise. And I'd like to say that Rise looks really good. It looks really, really nice. If you're looking for that game on your Xbox One, you can put on your fancy dad?
Yeah, why not?
Your fancy dad television in 1080p. It's 980p, isn't it? And, furiously masturbate over. Then, Rise, of course it is. Crytek. Crytek are...
It looks very nice.
Very good at visuals. But I haven't finished it. I will finish it today. I'm just a bit worried that it's a little boring. That's my only... Because my biggest problem with it is... And I played it in demo form and I had this same idea, is they've gone for the whole, obviously, Rome, badass combat kind of thing. But the combat plays more like Batman's than it does, say, God of War. And I just think for a game like this that looks really nice, all you want to do is kind of not mash buttons, but you've got that amazing God of War combat where it's got a rhythm and a pace to it. And this has more of a Batman rhythm and pace, but it doesn't really work because you want it to be far more ferocious and fast. And the dude, what's his name?
You're
Maximus.
a Roman with a sword.
Yeah, he's not that fast.
Marius.
He's not that fast. So he just kind of feel like he shuffles between combat rather than, like Kratos,
to me,
who flies into it.
Rise feels like a game that has been designed like one of those nature DVDs that they used to put on in Dixon's to be like,
actually, yeah, it is a bit
like
like that. But you can't watch it for more than a few hours. It's dull as shit.
Yeah, that's...
I'm not saying Rise is dull as shit. I'm just saying it's a bit boring.
Crytek don't make games, do they? Well, they do make games, but they don't make enjoyable ones.
I don't think Crytek made a good game for years.
They make benchmarking tools with an interactive element.
Possibly not.
That's all it is.
It's great. It's a great advert for what engine's this running on? Cry 9 or something? I think I made that up. But it's a great advert for that. I'm sure loads of people will go, oh, Unreal 4, Cry 72, whatever.
You know what? It's a great advert for the console as well, to be honest, because that is the kind of game that if you catch a few...
That's why. It's almost kind of weird that the game which is the best advert for the console has been embargoed to be slightly later than the embargoes for most of the review games. Can't say any more on the matter.
Well, I mean, they are. We got Forza at 2 p.m. today, so maybe they are just stretching it out. But
perhaps,
yes, but I mean, a lot of people will. It's coming out at the perfect time because the only time this could really survive is when its big hook is "Look how good I look." You know, because that always works with launch games. Because a lot of people get them. If you play this with mates and you all sit there, you know, touching each other's penises, you will. What
have you been doing with this game, Simon?
I masturbate other people. No, I really I regretted that instantly. As soon as I started that train of thought, I was like, I really don't like this.
Mate, we've all done it and we've all regretted it.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. But I mean, that's how it gets away with it because all your friends will they'll justify your purchase by just screaming how good it all looks, and you think, oh, I've done the right thing.
But it might end up being one of those things like Assassin's Creed, where the first one will be a bit balls, but it will sell so many copies that Rise 2 will come out and be the best bloody game ever. We'll
maybe.
Be like, oh my god, Romans.
Maybe if Crytek don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Crysis was all right. The original Far Cry was all right.
Crysis is a game that you just buy, and the same with all the Crysis games. You buy them when you get a new PC, or you've upgraded your PC. You think, what do I do first? I'll install a Crysis game because it's a good way of quickly going, whoa, look at that.
Exactly. And it makes you feel, it's that instant, because it's instantly satisfying. And you
I did that with Far Cry 3. I installed Far Cry 3, killed a couple of sharks, and then got really bored.
Yeah. But you felt, it makes you feel good because whether you've dropped, 300 quid on a graphics card or 500 quid on an next-gen machine or whatever, you see that difference. It's instant. Instant. The satisfaction is there straight away. So you kind of look past the rest and think it doesn't matter. I know I've got something. This could not run on my Xbox 360. Therefore, I'm happy that I spent £450.
The PC Master Race and the console people aren't so different after all.
I think
we just want to have pretty games to show off.
I mean, we're almost at a stage where we can kind of completely say this. We can't 100% say it, so take it with a pinch of salt until all embargoes, etc., etc. But it feels to me that what's most disappointing about these console launches is it's not that the games are all bad, because to be honest, we've had loads of console launches where most of the games have been really bad. It's the fact that neither console really has a really good one.
Yeah.
Neither console has something that you're just like,
I don't know.
Fuck, this is badass.
We haven't had the chance to play Resogun yet, and I hear that's supposed to be...
I've heard it's all right.
It's not going to change the world.
No, it's the Geometry Wars of the 360.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. And Geometry was okay, and it was a fun aside. But I remember playing Geometry Wars going, where's my real games? I love this. I'm enjoying it. When was the last time a console came out with a triple... I hate that term.
Well,
I mean, a proper AAA game.
Super Mario 64.
Yeah, because that's the one I can think of. Is there anything else?
There was some great... I think there was some good launch stuff on the PlayStation as well. What was it?
I can't remember. I genuinely can't remember. Because Xbox 360's...
Tekken, Ridge Racer, Battle Arena Toshinden, I believe.
But Tekken and Ridge Racer back then, that's a big deal. That's exciting. But I mean, Xbox 360, obviously, Perfect Dark Zero was supposed to be, but we all know how that turned out. Yeah. And what else did it launch with 360?
It was Super Marble Ball Ultra. Or
something
Ultra
like that. And Call of Duty 2 came out around, and that was cool.
PGR3 as well.
Yeah, actually PGR3. But again, it was more of a exciting aside rather than the main event. And then what did PS3 come out with? What was that game? That awful game with giant spiders that apparently are in Japanese history. Giant crabs, sorry. Genji! Yeah. Genji was a launch game on the PS3. That was balls.
You're right.
So maybe
I think it's just...
And Ridge Racer 7 or 6 or whichever
of course, yeah.
one it was.
I think it just feels
5.
different this time because of the fact that the generations have changed, where it used to be that at this point, there'd just be no games. Because it used to be that consoles were the thing, and it meant that at this point no one's going to release any games because no one's playing anything. Everyone's waiting for the next gen, and so it'd be like, oh, new stuff. Whereas now it's like these new consoles come out, these new games, but the flow of great games hasn't stopped.
I think I kind of, you're right, that's the problem, and I kind of respect Microsoft and Sony equally, because I think it's cool that Sony put Killzone on it day one, because they do see that as their premier shooter franchise, even though it's not for me at all. And I respect that Microsoft made sure they had a Forza game ready for day one, which again has... I mean, that's cool. But they are games that, to me, are big games. They're niched big games. They appeal to a very, very certain specific part of the market. They don't really ever...
I love Forza games.
I love both. Well, I don't like Killzone. I don't. I'm not going to pretend.
I don't like Killzone.
I think Forza's okay. It's never been really my thing.
I love Forza games, but also Need for Speed Rivals are great.
Well, that's honestly, from what I'm hearing, that's the secret gem of the bunch. We all need to get on the Need for Speed, it seems.
Yeah, I really want to check that out. But at the same time, it's it's not exciting. It's I can't get excited about racing games anymore unless it's like Diddy Kong Racing or Snowball Kids.
Oh, mate, I totally agree. I do need to point out I haven't washed over or looked over the fact that COD or Battlefield have come out, but I mean because they're not next gen specific, it's hard to.
But they're not exciting.
To wave the flag.
The thing is, what people don't get is it's not about whether it's good or not; it's whether it's exciting. And I think
new stuff is.
There's nothing exciting.
Not for me. Well, no, Wii U. Wii U, next gen, baby.
That's
next
it.
gen Wii
well, it's
U.
not next gen. I mean, let's not fuck around. Like, the Wii U might have some good
It's
games
Nintendo's
now,
next gen.
but it's not going to be around for that much longer. I reckon give it another couple of years and then the Wii U will be gone. Whereas in a couple of years, the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 will just be starting to get into their stride.
But then
let's not fuck around with the whole Wii U as a next gen console 2 thing because let's be honest, it's shit.
Mario looks really good, doesn't it?
I know, but but everyone else has stopped making games for it. Nintendo are going to be.
It's always the Nintendo player.
I know everything. Listen, I know everything's great now. I know it is.
We got Mario Kart.
We got Mario Kart, right? But then in about 6 months' time, you can have nothing again.
Zelda.
For about 6 months. They haven't even announced it. It will come out in like 2 years.
How stupid is this conversation? Then how's Zelda? Then Mario. Then what? Then Mario Kart. Then what? Zelda. So they do just 3 games.
You know what? Like we just got them on for the Wii U. It's sad. I mean, I'm still going to get one.
I know.
But
I know.
If they brought out, imagine if they brought out 3D World at launch.
You're right.
No,
you're 100% right. They should have done. They really, really should have done.
Nintendo's fault is they never, apart from Wii Sports where they struck gold.
Yep.
They never bring out something they haven't done since bloody
Mario 64. Did Mario 64 come out?
I think it did.
It was launched, wasn't it?
The machine was delayed to make sure that.
How times have changed, Nintendo.
Because I remember I didn't get one at launch, but I remember getting. I got a Superman. I got a Nintendo 64 with Super Mario, GoldenEye. Wait for it.
Gosh.
Shadows of the Empire.
Happy days.
Just to be honest, though, I just played that
2 out of
Hoth
3 ain't
level.
bad, right?
That Hoth level.
That was amazing.
I just played that
Had
again and again.
moments.
The rest
It was
of it
amazing.
was fucking trash.
Well, I think we should talk about what other people have been playing. I feel bad.
True.
I feel like I've hijacked.
Well, talking of games that look fucking amazing, I'll briefly say that I've been playing Dark Souls again.
I'm about to start Dark Souls.
And you're in
I
such
still haven't
a
played
treat, man.
Pokemon. I'm sorry. I'm going to though. It's all downloaded still.
Yeah.
I keep battling away with Zelda and
I know. I'm going to play Dark Souls and Pokemon for next week.
Dark
I
Souls is
promise.
more important, I think.
Okay.
Pokemon's like it's something you can dip into here and there.
Okay.
But I don't know. I was just playing Dark Souls the other day because I realized I had it installed on PC, and I thought, hey, my PC's pretty good. I'll like whack some of the mods on. So I've put all the HD mods on it. I've put all the cool textures and all the upgrades that are pretty decent. And then I've realized that you can also. I mean, this is what amazes me at the moment about all this stuff about like, oh, it's only in 720p, it's only in 920p. On my PC, I can, instead of upscaling, I can downscale. So what I'm actually doing is I'm actually rendering the game at almost 3,000 pixels by 3,500 pixels or larger, and then squeezing it down to fit into 1080.
Damn.
And running it at 60 frames a second.
So it just looks like a beast.
It just, you can't see any edges. It basically just smooths everything off and it runs at 60 frames a second. And it's just amazing. And also with all these mods and stuff, the level of detail in Dark Souls on the character models, you just can't see it on the consoles. But it's one of those weird things where they've clearly left all the textures in higher res than they need to be. The level of detail on the enemies and the characters is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
It looks amazing.
I mean, we chatted about this on the stream actually, but it's the community that have done a
Yeah.
large part of the work here, isn't it? Because the port itself was, at least at first,
And this is
pretty
what
shoddy.
this is what worries me. Yeah, this is what worries me about. I mean, it'll be fine going forward, and I think the consoles, when they hit their stride, will start to get optimized stuff for the hardware, and games will be amazing. And there will come a point where, even though the hardware isn't as good, they do look better than PC games a lot of the time. But it's more the fact that somebody on Twitter the other day said to me, "Is XCOM Ended Within coming out on next gen?" And I'm like, I don't know, probably not.
No, I doubt it.
But it's like, why not? They're just PCs, right? They're just hardcore PCs.
I don't know the answer to that. Maybe it is coming out.
But no,
I don't
that's
know.
the problem. Is it's like the problem with these systems is they are just powerful PCs. But then with a PC, you can just play anything whenever you want. Whereas on these, you have to wait for them to make it available on that platform.
Yeah.
And even though it is just a PC, but it's because you have no control over it. And I think it's a shame because stuff like Dark Souls is obviously, it was a really shoddy PC port, like a really crap job from software. But fans, because people love it so much, fans have just made it incredible. And
it's pretty good, isn't it?
It's basically like Dark Souls Super HD Edition. And they've done a better job than most HD ports I've ever played.
Yeah.
People were fixing Total War Rome 2 the day it came out.
Yeah, precisely.
That is absolutely unbelievable. That is.
Yeah.
That is disgusting.
Actually, yeah, Deadly Premonition on the PC, within 3 hours of it being launched, the same guy who made the fix for Dark Souls fixed.
He's like, all right,
premonition.
all right then.
It's mad,
He was
isn't it?
like, oh
It's
yeah, this is
absolutely mad.
broken. I don't know. I mean, it's it's not their responsibility, but it's kind of amazing that you get that kind of support. And
Yeah, no, it's cool. I think it's really, really good. Maybe one day, never, we'll get a console that is like open and you can do stuff with, but
Well,
we won't. That will
that's-
never
well,
happen.
the Steam box.
Yeah, that's the idea
you know.
of the Steam box.
Yeah,
I
but
guess,
that's,
isn't
that's
it?
still in
It's
the
dream.
world of the PC, isn't it? Like, I mean, I'm talking about consoles that we consider.
Yeah, but maybe that
kind of
line
the
just
TV
merges
or
at
But
some
that's
point.
what I mean. Is I think that the Steam box has got a chance to do it. And actually,
Maybe it
one of
does, yeah. Shifts the paradigm.
One of the questions was, do you think that there'll be more PC players now because of the consoles being like not that interesting? And I think the answer is no. I don't.
No,
I think
people like their consoles.
I think so many people, even all the time on Twitter, people are like, "Oh yeah, but mouse and keyboard." It's like I don't use a mouse and keyboard for most
yeah,
things.
it's pad, yeah.
Just plug in a 360
You can play.
pad.
You can use a DualShock 4 before too long. I mean,
Yeah.
already right, but it's not supported.
It's like semi-supported. Yeah, people have like again one of those things. Fans have immediately patched it and modded
Yeah.
it themselves. I don't know. I think there will. I think I'm interested to see Steam box because I think it could bridge that gap.
I hope so. Be nice. New dawn of
But anyway,
life.
yeah, Dark Souls. If you've not played Dark Souls yet,
I tell you what, I promise for the next podcast, so 1 week today, I will have either played, and we'll talk about Pokemon and or Dark Souls.
I want you.
I
to
promise.
Kill, I want you to kill the first boss in Dark Souls.
What if I can't do it?
God, he's only got a
You
week.
can do it.
What if I can't do
I
it?
did
What
it-
if I hate Dark
I
Souls?
did it in 20 minutes. You will hate Dark Souls.
But that's a weird thing to tell me, Matt. And then Burns agreed.
That's the point of the game.
Yeah, you'll
At
hate
least in the
it.
early stage.
You'll hate it, and then
Right.
you'll love it.
Okay.
You'll love it so much. But I'm just so jealous because there's going to be. There was a bit I was playing it the other day where it's like you get halfway across a thing and then something happens, and there's so many bits like that in the game where you think you're safe, you think
But
you're
you're
fine,
not.
and then all out of nowhere something just happens,
All right.
and you go fuck.
I'm involved. I've got
And
it now. It's in my
fucking
house.
wish I could go back in time to the point when I didn't know that. Now I
Yeah.
know the game like the back of my hand, and I know exactly when everything happens. And I wish I didn't. I want to total recall it out of my brain or something. Anyway, who's
got-
been playing a game that isn't
You've got
2
next
years
gen
old?
stuff now, isn't it? Burns been playing next gen stuff.
Loads of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yikes.
Maybe a lot of Dead Rising.
Dead Rising 3, right?
Dead Rising
In fact,
3.
because Brat and Matt have seen a bit of that as well.
Yeah, we checked
I haven't seen
out,
anything, so I'm just going to
yesterday.
fold my feet here and
I'll
watch.
say,
I
like,
think we're going to argue.
Dead briefly, I'll just say that I didn't really like it. I've only played it for a little amount of time, but I've seen a lot of it and I've read a lot about it. And to me, I'm a really hardcore Dead Rising fan. I love it. And to me, I feel like they've left in some of the mechanics which might please some fans, but for me personally, the tone and the way I don't know, I just didn't really like it at all. It felt to me like it looked like a fun zombie game, and I think that's enough for most people. As a devout Dead Rising fan, I'm a bit like, I don't like what you've done. But anyway,
As someone who's never played a Dead Rising,
yeah, I
game,
think I'm alone in this.
I
like-
was. No, I know. I doubt
What?
that.
I thought you had played it.
I'd never played a Dead Rising game up until 3.
Oh no!
played 3 yesterday.
Sorry, I'm only having a panic because me and Brat are going to stream Dead
Yeah.
Rising. I assumed that Brat had played it. I never played Dead Rising.
I know the gist.
We're dead.
I got the
We're
gist. Combine weapons, kill lots of zombies. But yes, as someone who hadn't played 1 or 2, I saw a fun zombie game. I'm not sure. I like some of the stuff that you were talking about, and I get why the first 2 games did stuff that you're interested in. But it just seemed like a fun zombie game that felt next gen, which was nice and what I was after. To be honest, it's not the game changer that we may have hoped for or whatever, but it was a fun game too.
It is a game changer. That's my problem. It's one of those things that this is me being completely fucking hypocritical in the fact that I'm complaining about most games because it's just the same game again. And this one, they've changed it, and I don't like it.
You just want the whole game again.
I'm being a fucking massive hypocrite, and I'm aware of that. But at the same
It
time,
happens.
it's one of those games where it's just like they've changed it and made it a bit less interesting. They've made it look like the tone of it just feels very much like games. But I know they've put a lot of mad stuff, and I know they've put a lot of crazy stuff. But it feels to me very much like a Western studio pretending to be a Japanese studio. And I think that it's kind of lost in translation to a degree. But anyway, you've actually played the whole fucking game, so I'm going to shut up and let you talk about it.
It's I really enjoyed it. I don't think it has it's very silly, but its overarching nonsense factor isn't as large or even as well implemented as in the previous games, because in the previous games their art design and their characterization went hand in glove.
Yeah, I
with
guess that was the thing that people had an issue
Yeah,
with
so
when it
Frank
first
West, like
came out.
the original Dead Rising, is just like that line. He's covered wars, and he was an idiot. And in the games that follow, he's not just an idiot; he's actually a real bastard, and he's only in it for the glory and all of this sort of noise. And it's set in a shopping mall with killer clowns and all of that sort of stuff. And then in the second game, they have the kind of TV show Terrorist Reality, and people are betting money on like a Running Man style thing. And so I understand why people like, say, Matt, for example, don't think this is too serious. And in a way, it is a bit too serious because its narrative doesn't actually fit in story mode as well as the silliness. Although that is a lot of fun, it just doesn't really work. But for me, the Nightmare mode, which goes to kind of classic Dead Rising traditions, as you can only save in like Portaloos, and the time limit is really strict, is actually just a really good game on its own because it's less about fucking around then, and it's more about getting out of the city, and the amazing tech which powers all those zombie hordes becomes all important. Not just for getting in there and making like a teddy bear sentry gun, but for getting through them and getting around the map. And so I think it's this weird kind of half game between. It could very much have not been called Dead Rising, and they could have stripped out the kind of the combination of weapons and just made it a very serious kind of zombie game. But I really enjoyed it as a fan of old Dead Rising and for what they're trying to do now. But I completely understand why some people think that it's not silly enough. Do you have
to restart when you're doing Nightmare mode this time, or is that not a thing anymore?
You have to. They're two. Well, sorry, when you die.
Because I remember the big thing in Dead Rising, the original, was that you had to restart a lot. Is that the same? If you do Nightmare mode in 3, do you have to do that again?
Well, you can save.
Yeah.
But the time limits are in story mode. You're given free reign to just fuck around. Essentially, you run around. You're meant to get all the weapon blueprints. You know, zombies aren't. They don't. I died once in the whole game. You know, it's not a problem, and the time limits are so long. You can do every side quest in Nightmare mode. I mean, you've got 5 days and 16 hours, I think, in game to get out, and I think an hour is 20 minutes of game time. Or
it
something
felt like that. I've only done like
so
the first day, I think.
You're really up against it.
So if you run out of time, you restart with all your levels up and all that. That still happens.
You still save the game.
Yeah.
It's not as focused on the kind of because Frank. You're meant to start that game over because the PP system was about the books and taking photos of stuff and earning more wrestling moves. So you get to level 50 in the original Dead Rising, and then you start it again because now you can suplex the fuck out of everything, and it's great. And you go back because you want more and more. And
sounds like Majora's Mask.
There's also that it was like Majora's Mask, and that's the thing is I think I can see what they've done with the time limit and the difficulty, and I think it's really cool that I have included that. But what I liked about the original Dead Rising was the fact it was like this almost like a file of facts. And a lot of it was question marks. And a lot of it was like not knowing stuff. And it was the fact a lot of people really hated it. A lot of people, I don't want to, I hate to say the phrase, but I think a lot of people didn't get it.
Yeah, I think I didn't get
correct.
it. Yeah.
A lot of people didn't understand that because it was very, and what we were saying, Matt, about a Western studio taking it on, is that the original Dead Rising was extremely Japanese.
It was.
It was so Japanese. It was fucking unreal. Like, you know, people would...
Not even Japan is that Japanese.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be like, oh, well, you know, I'm died. And in Western games, like, well, where's my restart? Are you joking? Like, because, you know, it's a massive generalization, but you want auto saves and always on. And when, you know, I've got to come back to life and regenerating health. No, you're dead. You are dead. Start again.
Yeah, and I honestly think, and again, I don't like to use this phrase because it sounds really condescending, but I think people just didn't get it. Because Dead Rising was a spectacular exploration of death in video games and the use of save games. It was like people have said it had a broken save system or a stupid save system. It didn't. It was one of the few games that chose to look at save games as a mechanic within the game and think about different ways of exploring that. In the same way that BioShock does and System Shock does with its kind of Vita chambers or, you know, life cloner things in System Shock 2. It goes, what's the point in saving and reloading? And the answer in System Shock 2 was, well, if you do that, it breaks the narrative because it means you have characters saying the same thing again and repeating themselves, and it breaks the sense of immersion. So we make it so you can't die in that sense. Whereas in Dead Rising, it did the opposite. It said, what's the bit about a zombie apocalypse that makes the stories exciting? And the answer is death. And it's not when the zombies die, because that's just fucking 10 a penny Baker's dozen shit. It's when you die, or more importantly, when your survivors die.
Yeah,
what I used to love.
It sounds like Iron Man mode now.
Yeah, well, no, it is.
It's
it
the
is
same kind of feeling.
In the same way, and again in the same way that Iron Man is and Dark Souls' system is an exploration of experimenting with a system. But I think it's funny in the fact that all these other systems like Iron Man and Dark Souls system and BioShock and System Shock were all lauded as being revolutionary, whereas Dead Rising is regularly berated for it.
I think the reason for that is is because the game's at first look, it doesn't look like a game that should have that. And
you're right.
And what I love about Dead Rising is underneath the kind of, jovial attitude and the frivolity is a really nasty undercurrent to the original game had that section where you had to rescue some survivors from a cop.
I had been talking about that actually before. I would not have known that.
But that's the great thing about you're talking about zombie movies.
Hang on, wait, what's this about the cop?
So there's like a police officer that's got 2 hostages in the original Dead Rising, and she's a woman. And you get there, and you see the hostages behind it. One of the psycho battles, and it's really heavily, not even just heavily implied. It's just there that she's kind of raped them or assaulted them.
Jeez,
that was cut from the American release, But
I thought Dead Rising was a game about putting
the best thing
police
about
together and killing zombies.
Because underneath all of that, and also Dead Rising is a perfect example of if it doesn't happen in a cutscene, it just doesn't happen in a lot of game design, in like Japanese game design. So original Resident Evil, for example, someone got bitten in a cutscene, they turned in immediately. I got bitten all the time in the game, so what? I didn't. If it doesn't happen in the cutscene, it doesn't happen. And Dead Rising, you can go through the whole thing with a pistol, playing it very cautiously, trying to save people, no combining weapons, no throwing pies in faces, all of that. That's up to you. That's your story. But the game underneath that nonsense has this horrible, horrible vibe. And Dead Rising 3, to its credit, does still keep some of that, but it's not as contrasted. Shall I say.
And it's funny because you don't see that, because you just see people in the shopping mall And what I love about Dead Rising, especially the first game, was that it really doesn't show its hand until night. Because you're just dicking around, right? It's amazing fun. In the area you start off with, you go upstairs, you find like a restaurant, you get a stack of plates. They're walking up the escalator. You're just throwing plates at the face of the zombies. You're not killing them, but you're just knocking them all down the escalator. Yeah. It's funny. And it taps into that thing from Dawn of the Dead, Romero's, classic kind of mall thing, of them just having fun with it. But then the time ticks on, and suddenly it's night. And suddenly the whole mall changes. There's shitloads more zombies, and you just see these this sea of red dots of their eyes, and suddenly it's actually quite frightening.
Yeah, that mechanic is still there in.
Oh, I know that mechanic's still there, but it's in this they have so many zombies all the time in Dead Rising 3 and so many ways to just rip through them with amazing. I mean, how early in the game you get the vehicles that you can mash them up with. What was wonderful about the original Dead Rising was, if you weren't overwhelmed, you could have fun with it. But if you got to a bit with lots of zombies, you were in real trouble. And my favourite memory of the original Dead Rising was the point at which I decided I got cocky with it. I was like, well, I've got these survivors with me, because you have to ferry the survivors back. It's like that old puzzle with the boats and the chickens and the wolves. You're like, you could if I go back to the base and drop these guys off, they'll be safe. But I won't have time to go and get these survivors as well. So you end up having a chain of 4 or 5 useless people with you. And I was like, I'm going to go to the sword shop and get this guy, because if you don't get him within an hour, he's going to be dead. And I remember taking these people down this long corridor full of zombies, and it just went so wrong. All of my weapons degraded, and all the amazing weapons I had ran out. And you have this moment where you're just in the middle of this massive horde of zombies, and you've got nothing. And all you can do is just run and try and barge through them. And everybody died. But it was amazing, because it was this thing of being like, I was doing so well, and I just overstretched slightly. But the reason it's like Groundhog Day is because there's so many hidden little weapons. Because the crafting system in the original games was so specific, it'd be stuff like you would need specific items. And every now and then you'd just climb up onto a roof and you'd find one. And you'd be like, oh my God, this is here. And a lot of people hated the restart thing. But for me, it was like every time you restarted, not only were you slightly more powerful as a character, which made a lot of people think it was like a grind. I mean, the idea was you just have to keep grinding until you could finish the game. But it was more about knowledge. It was more about knowing the areas, knowing what you could combine from where, and you just gradually got better and better at it. I think it's an amazing game, and I think it's a shame.
I would say with Dead Rising 3, just from a very shallow, and again, technical point of view, I was very impressed with the amount of zombies that were on screen.
Yeah.
It was very, very impressive. Like, if you love sort of characters on screen that are dead people, or the undead, you'll be very impressed. A lot of dead people on that screen.
I just think they've kept a lot of the stuff. I completely appreciate what they've done with it, and I think a serious game where it's a bit more dark, the story's a bit more serious, and you've got to escape from a city in 5 days, and it's full of zombies. I think that's an amazing setup from a game. I just think
story doesn't seem great, by the way.
No, I know it seems pretty crap, but I just think the elements they have kept from Dead Rising, I think maybe don't fit that game as well. Like the inventory system in Dead Rising has always been dumb, but it's because it's been made to fit the system of the original Dead Rising. And now having this stupid system where you have to drop weapons so you can eat an apple.
And when you fire your gun, this killed me. When you run out of ammunition in your gun, he drops it as if it's like exploded in his hands. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I really want Capcom Vancouver to make the next Resident Evil game. Go mega dark with it. Make it fairly open world. Make it like this. Cut out all the kind of combination stuff. Use that tech. Make that like Resident Evil, kind of call it Resident Evil, I don't know, we can't call it Zero. Just make it you trying to escape the city, like Raccoon City or whatever. But I think Matt's points are valid from like a Dead Rising fan's point of view. But in terms of me having fun with the game, I had loads of fun with it. And then when I booted Nightmare mode, I was like, there's almost like not a whole new game, but it puts a very definite spin on what you've been playing, and they're so different. They might,
I've got a feeling Simon and I will enjoy it just because we haven't played that before, and
I don't.
It's just going to be we are playing on Nightmare mode, so I hope you.
I think we're going to get killed a lot, and it's going to be frustrating and horrible.
But yeah, no, it's an interesting thought, isn't it? Just looking at a game without that prior experience makes all the difference.
I think probably given that it's a quote unquote launch game, it's been made more accessible.
Yeah,
as you'd expect.
For idiots like us.
Yeah, I ruin games.
I don't know. It looks like fun. But I just think it looks to me from a design perspective like one of those games where I think with Dead Rising...
You wanted something more interesting.
Well, no, with Dead Rising 2, they created a facsimile of Dead Rising 1, and they did a really good job of basically emulating the first game. But it feels like with this, they've tried to put their own spin on it, but they've also wanted to remain true to the fans. But I think that the elements that they've copied and pasted, I think they've just made some bad calls. And I think it will actually, a lot of fans will be completely happy with it though, because I think a lot of fans, if they didn't have the health thing that was squares and they didn't have the inventory system being like it was, a lot of fans would have gone, it's not Dead Rising. But fuck those guys, they don't understand game design. The elements they've kept are the surface details which make it look like a Dead Rising game, but they haven't kept the elements that made sense. The original Dead Rising was made, it felt like a weird and broken game, but actually in my mind it was fairly perfectly made for what it wanted to do. But it just feels like they've
it's
copied
changed,
and pasted.
Matt. It's moved away from what you loved.
Features which shouldn't be there. And I wish that they actually would have had the balls. I probably would have liked it more if they had the balls to just go off with a new vision and change it completely. But hey, it looks like a fun zombie game.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, there aren't many good games on Xbox One, so fucking fill your boots.
There's Rise and Forza.
Precisely. Forza's going to be great, but it's cars. Cars are a bit boring.
Forza looks so boring.
Cars
anyway.
Are boring. Anyone been playing? Because have you Zelda? How are you getting on?
I'm still. Unfortunately, I wanted to play it this morning, but the batteries run out.
Where have you got to? I haven't chatted to you about this for a while. Fill me in.
I'm in the Forest Temple. Going forward.
So you're adult Link now.
Yes.
The pose of stolen the lights.
Yes, and by the way, I thought I was being really cheeky when I got to the stage. I just got the fairy bow and arrow, of course, and I thought, you know what, that guy keeps running around in that painting. He's really annoying me. I'm gonna fire an arrow at him. Apparently, that's exactly what I was supposed to do.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So if I hadn't have just done that on a whim, I would have been
Zelda is planting these little things in your brain without you realizing.
I will say the music in the Forest Temple is perhaps one of my favorites so far.
Scary, isn't it? It's a bit freaky.
I'm not scared by it. It's just wacky and weird. I like it. Like it a lot.
You got your first big boss in soon as well. You're building up to your first proper one.
Yeah, I've got the pose. I've got the kind of mini buses first, right? I'm still. I've just been introduced to like small keys or whatever they're called to unlock certain doors. That's a bit of a bitch, to be honest. Because
I forget that.
I said that in 2 weeks ago. It was one of last week. So I said you're about to get gypped by keys. I said that to you. You didn't listen to me.
They're not put in order. They're not put in a row. You don't go, here's a chest, here's a chest, there's a door.
Sometimes finding keys is well hard.
There's a door where the crap's the chest.
Is it the Forest Temple? I can't remember. Maybe another one where I genuinely thought I've unlocked the wrong door.
Yeah, same.
I thought I must have done this wrong because I can't find the key and they're just really well hidden.
Exactly. The very first door you unlock, I thought that was the wrong one as well. But it turns out I got lost and then found another one.
One takes you to somewhere you can get anyway. And you're like, what? Why can I get here? But there's something you have to do. Like, it's so good.
Yeah, no, I remember having that exact same thought. Yeah. Going, oh shit, I've broken the game.
I had it like 10 years later.
Yeah, see, it's a great game. I'm excited. But you got to get on because I want you to get to Gerudo Valley.
Yeah, well, I was intending to.
It's way off Gerudo Valley.
He's miles. Mate. I know, but I thought we'd be there by now. He's got loads to do. That's after the Water Temple, I believe. You got loads to do.
Just you wait till you get to Viridian City. It's amazing.
That's exciting times. I get more excited about you playing Zelda than anything else, I think. There you go. That's weird. I still hate
you.
you.
Need some new hobbies.
I'm going to kill you.
Right,
Be
great.
my hobby
That
later.
sounds good.
Fantastic. News. Dave's not here with his news cannon.
It's a temporary news cannon.
So, temporary news cannon. Fire this one very quickly. PlayStation 4 sold 1 million.
Pretty
in the
good.
first 24 hours.
Pretty good.
It's more than the Wii U sold in
About a year or something like that. No, it's good. I mean, people excited about next gen. I imagine Xbox One will do similar. I know there's a lot of, down voting for the Xbox One, but I know a lot of people that are excited about it.
I'm still not interested. I'm getting quite interested in PS4 just because I am a absolute sucker for shiny boxes, and I think the PS4 unit is a very beautiful bit of gear.
Now I've seen them both up close for a long time. It is nicer.
I don't like the Xbox One. I think it's quite an ugly bit.
I'd still buy an Xbox One over a PS4 for no reason. There's no reason for that. But there's no reason. There's no. I think
journalist Simon Miller.
Well, people will go, where? I think they're both incredible consoles. I love them. Well, I think game-wise they're boring, but I don't know. Someone made me buy one when I buy an Xbox One for no reason. Absolutely no reason whatsoever.
I'm enjoying both of them. I'm enjoying using the Xbox One a lot more than I thought I would. When I first saw the interface, it's like it moves around depending on what you've picked. It's a lot of reliance on Kinect. I thought it was going to be difficult to use, confusing, but I'm liking it actually.
Yeah.
It makes more sense than the 360 dashboard.
I do. I think we need some announcements though. I hope the Spike, what's it called? Spike TV Awards. I want some big guns, baby.
Yeah,
I don't even give a shit. Even if they're
they?
years off, just announce them so there can be some chatter and
That's
stuff.
exactly it. I think for me,
What
it's
have we got
about
to look forward to? Titanfall at the moment.
Well, they're going to show off Uncharted 4 properly. Now, I'm not interested in Uncharted 4 because I didn't like Uncharted 3, and this is being made by the same team. And I also think that you run that barrel dry.
I don't know. I think that Uncharted 3, I've read a lot about that, and it seems to me that they are aware that it was rushed.
I hope
they're
so.
Aware that they didn't do a good job on it.
Well, because Uncharted 2 was so good, and then this felt like you've forgotten what made Uncharted 2 good, and you've taken all the bad bits and put it on Uncharted 3. But if they, my point was going to be, if they don't make Uncharted 4 look, I mean, if Naughty Dog, who are tech, I mean, Uncharted 3 looked
Naughty
amazing.
Dog are amazing.
So if you can give me a 60-second trailer where it just blows my brain, then you're going to get me excited about the console.
I mean, there's lots of stuff at the moment, but I think, I'm not going to... The idea of getting a console before Christmas is not going to happen.
No, I'm not going to get one for
Just because actually my plan for
all my money goes on Nintendo this year.
I'm going to try and play the bloody Witcher 2 this Christmas because I've got it all installed and it looks gorgeous and I really want to... But I know it's one of those games that every time I go into it, I've only got an hour and I'm like, nah, you need to set aside
it's
10
an
hours.
investment.
You need an hour to get used to the combat system at least.
Yeah, you do. So I want to really do that. So, but I think in the next month we are going to get some big announcements, and that's going to shape it for me.
Yeah.
At the moment, there's been rumored, and it does sound like bollocks, but it's been rumored that Demon Souls 2 might be a thing.
Fallout
What, so they're going to have
Fallout
Dark
4's
Souls
kicking around
2
as
and
well.
Demon Souls 2?
I know it sounds crazy,
Maybe
but it's
software are
possible
crazy.
because Sony owned Demon Souls as a franchise, which is why Dark Souls became a thing.
And
Dark Souls 2
the story is
happening.
bonkers anyway. They don't need to.
They're in separate worlds. Like they're not in the same universe.
What about if you
Maybe
go to a
they'll make it on
painting or something?
PS4.
There's some crossover.
I don't know. I mean, it seems to me
They tell.
the
People love
little
them.
bit of that makes me think this might be true is that the director of Demon Souls and the director of Dark Souls is not working on Dark Souls 2. There was a big hoo-ha about the fact that somebody else doing the direction for that game. And the reason was because he'd gone off to work something else. We still don't know what he's working on. And that's my big thing is basically at the moment I'm thinking, he's the guy who made Demon Souls and Dark Souls. Now, perhaps he's just got bored of doing that stuff.
Yeah,
and he wants to do
doing
something
something new.
completely new. That's entirely viable. But the more time I spend with these games, the more I realise that the amount of love and detail have gone into these things, it doesn't feel like he's anywhere near bored with this sort of thing.
Yeah.
I could be completely fucking
Well, that'd be
wrong.
cool. I'd tell you what, and there's a person on YouTube the other day that insulted me for this. So if they do listen to our podcast, I'm just going to annoy me even more. If Microsoft want me to buy an Xbox One, just announce Gears of War 4 with a release date. And if Sony want me to buy a PS4, just promise me that Last Guardian will actually come out for it at some point. And there you go. They'll buy both. Literally, I'd buy them
Just
straight
show
away.
me the opening of Demon Souls, the original. So that castle, essentially, that stage on PS4 running in, fuck off vision. I'll buy it tomorrow.
That opening intro is the most deceiving thing in all the video games
the
ever.
level, the first level where you run up the steps.
Pretend you can take more than two enemies on at the same time.
Oh, so
Nah,
good.
Demon Souls would need some work because obviously we've been playing that
Well,
for the
make it
Pants Man
better.
stream. Yeah, like a lot of the boss fights are a fucking dick.
Yeah, trust me. I know.
Yeah, but
I know.
Box quote.
they have clearly learned from that with Dark Souls.
Yeah, like
it's
yeah.
wildly different.
The boss fights in Dark Souls are wicked.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned
But
about
From
them.
Software must have weight now. Maybe they're going to do a brand new crazy thing that's going to inspire everyone. Who knows?
They're making the new Dead Rising.
Dragon
Oh.
Souls. Dead Souls.
I'd be excited to see what they're doing.
There's a game called Dead Souls, isn't there?
But they're clearly doing something next gen. But I still worry. They're a small team, and I hope they've got...
Yeah, no, it's hard. But yeah, give me some, some interesting games / big blockbuster games.
I swear,
I know that
if Demon Souls 2 gets announced for PS4, done. PS4. I swear, that is one of those games that has enough pull as a hardcore game.
That's like me and Last Guardian. Honestly, I love Team Ico games. If you promise me it will come out, I will buy a PS4. But I need a promise. None of this bollocks. I need it will definitely come out on this day.
I want Shadow of the Colossus 2, Shadow Harder.
Even if they called it that, he's got a gun.
And you have to kill 1,000 colossi in an hour.
They'd play it.
Oh, man.
I'd probably hate it.
There's only one guy who's fast enough to kill all these
Wonder, even though his name wasn't supposed to be Wonder, and it's a translation problem.
This hairy, stony bastard's going to die. Headshot. Yeah, that'd be great.
Get the Unreal guys in.
Let's have some questions. So first up, we got a question from the forum. Neil94.
Hi, Neil.
The best Neil.
The best Neil. As said by Matt
Better
Lees.
than Armstrong.
Better than Armstrong. What did that prick
Rest in
do?
peace.
Eh?
Fuck
Cycling, drugs, fuck off.
Yeah,
It's a joke.
Exactly.
Yeah, before someone got the wrong Armstrong, Matt. I
Do
can't
know
believe it.
my Armstrongs. You've got Stretch Armstrong, Neil Armstrong, and Lance Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
They are all
That's
very
all of them.
different.
They're all brothers. They're like the Baldwins.
Imagine it.
One of them is full of chemicals, and the other one is Lance Armstrong.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, because it's full of plastic.
Yep.
'Cause it's a toy.
That's good.
Okay, also, what do you think about the Elder Scrolls Online MMO coming to next gen
I think
consoles?
we should tell Burns to quote him from his preview 6 months ago, which didn't go down too well with Bethesda at all.
What was that quote again? It's classic. I'd rather be dead.
I think Burns said I'd rather be dead. And then, we're not supposed to talk about this, but screw it. Let's pull back the fourth. Well, I'll just get told off. I don't care. But we went to, obviously we have meetings with publishers and stuff to discuss what games they have coming down the pipeline. And, they fill us in early so we can be prepared, because that's what they want. They want us to come up with ideas, even though sometimes they don't like the ideas we come up with. That's tough. It's good for us to have a heads up. And when I went to see Bethesda recently, we sat down and we started chatting about Elder Scrolls Online. They said, so, you're not the biggest fans of Elder Scrolls Online? And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, let me just read you from this preview that you wrote. And then literally said, at one point, I thought I'd rather be dead. Wow. And I just burst out laughing in this very professional meeting. But hey, I don't think there's anyone supposed to tell you that, but who cares?
I did. At one point, I was playing the game and we were in this really fancy kind of environment. It's like a castle or something. And I was looking, there was a window behind my PC monitor. When I was playing, I was just clicking and some noise about fairies or something. And I was just found myself looking out of the window at this lush greenery compared to this not lush greenery on my screen. And I realised I'd just been looking out of the window for a while and clicking. And I thought, I would rather be dead. But
the thing is, though, and so I was literally segueing to you, Breck. Sure. Burns doesn't really like those kind of games. But I love those kind of games. Brat likes those kind of games. No, Elder Scrolls games.
Right. There's going to be a difference,
Well, no, but I mean, I love those games, and even I think it's boring, and Brad thinks it's boring as well.
I'll say I like MMOs. I love the concept. I had a hell of a lot of fun with World of Warcraft. It might be a flawed game in itself.
It's just old. It's almost 10 years old now.
And you know what? So is the Elder Scrolls Online.
No, shots fired. Elder
It's
Scrolls
so
Online.
old-fashioned. It's designed on... It's doing the classic trap of every MMO that came out in the years following... the first couple of World of Warcraft expansions, completely copying it. It's the Elder Scrolls. You've got a big name yourself. You don't need to copy that. You take your stuff.
To me, it feels very much like a game that they've been working on for a long time, and they just want to get out the fucking door. And I think it will do all right because it's Elder Scrolls. But I mean, I didn't get on with Skyrim because I thought it was too thin.
Did Star Wars even do that well until they went free to play?
Well,
that's
they
a big budget.
Way too much money.
Do you know they spent over $1 billion on Star Wars?
Yeah, I know, right?
$1 billion. They have not made that
GTA
back.
money, isn't it?
They have not made that
They
back.
put like $500,000 out. Too much talking in it. I'm just going to go on that figure because I can't remember the figure.
Well, I remember they did a big event back in the day in the Trocadero. And they made it all cool.
That's how long.
Oh, yeah, they made it all cool. They made it all Star Wars-y. If you're a big fan, it was awesome. I remember they made us play it for like 7 hours straight. I remember thinking, there's something here. There is something here. And then when you played the finished, it was nothing like what I played. So I think they panicked.
Yeah. Well, the second half of this question is, will MMOs on consoles become a common thing? Next generation is a good thing. I think MMOs are kind of done.
Dead, yes. I was going to say the same thing. I agree.
The classic way of thinking about MMOs.
Precisely.
You've got things like Destiny coming up, which are going to
and what's it called? The Ubisoft thing, Division, where it's all blurring the lines and stuff. I think those are the games that are going to...
When people want to say MMOs, are actually talking broadly about persistence. Like Call of Duty, essentially. Like if you take the mass out of it, Call of Duty, anything with like a ranking sort of thing, they're not exactly the same, but the idea of the MMO that will survive will be persistence.
Yeah, you having a character that levels up within that world.
I mean, yes, broadly, but no in the way in which
we're not
going
to see
famous.
Yeah, the MMORPG genre, the traditional MMORPG is going to struggle, and even WoW is kind of it's not falling like it was, but it's still falling. And that's the big guy. I don't know how the Elder Scrolls is going to manage.
Done. It is fucked. It is fucked and done.
Have you heard that World of Warcraft?
Heard it here first. Matt Lee says Warcraft is fucked and done.
Oh, no, not Warcraft, just the MMO.
Oh, right, okay, sorry.
Warcraft are about to start going annual with the expansions by the sounds of it, which...
well, you know what? Like, I mean, it's slipping, but it's still got millions of
They've got
subscribers.
7 million subscribers.
So that's all right.
It's money for old rope,
It's a
that is.
graceful fall, to be honest.
It's like voiceover work.
It
I don't
is.
know that. Someone told me that. I know it's true.
Voiceover work has got harder recently because
really?
it's all celebrities.
Of course, yeah,
Traditional
everything.
voice actors who used to be
Struggling.
raking it in. No one wants voice acting anymore. They want familiar sounding voices.
Yeah,
That's
like
something I
Nolan
learned
North.
recently. He's not well known enough.
No, I was joking.
They want the woman off telly.
Yeah, Peep Show.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I love her.
Olivia Colman.
That's it.
That's her.
Yeah.
That's all they want.
That's Ira.
Okay, onwards. Mark Robinson, aka Lithium Project,
Hi, Mark.
says, had a dream I made a Connect jousting game. On a scale of 1 to 10, how shit do you think such a game would be?
Jousting is
I think I'd like a
on
Connect
horseback.
jousting game.
You're right.
Connect games on horseback.
That could kind of work, actually.
Yeah, because think you're holding the thing. Dun, 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 dun,
You
dun.
need some weight,
I don't know why
though.
it's that
Yeah.
song,
You
but
need some weight.
Also, you need a
Yeah.
really big room.
Yeah, and you need one of those mechanical horses, the
Yeah.
ones that nearly got Tom Cruise
And
killed
lances.
that time.
They
know
need
it.
to sell
Yeah.
a kind of... Yeah.
But if we can get those things.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to tie it into like
we're in
a
business.
medieval package.
Yeah.
You'd have to have
Comes
sword
with-
fighting.
Comes with a full mechanical horse. Like, it's going to be like taking up-
£350.
This
That
is
is
the
going to save
mid-2000s.
retail. It's gonna
There
save
is-
retail.
There is
But
a
if-
a
Why steal
PlayStation move game
Battalion?
called Joust, by the way. It's
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
there's
fucking
surprise.
fun. Yeah.
it
But
doesn't
if,
have any
if you
horses
could have
in.
sword fighting, jousting, that thing with the big spikes that you swing around your head, and you can do all those, that'd be good. Mace? Mace.
Big spikes.
Mace.
How low can you go? Have you plugged in Brett Claxton? Which doesn't sound like a real name. Sorry, Brett. I mean, we've got a Brett person in our office,
Yeah.
but Brett Claxton, fuck off.
Brett Claxton sounds like someone's going to host me a nighttime program.
Hi.
Brett Claxton.
With me live, Brett Claxton.
I'm here live at the scene, Dave.
Congratulations, Brett. You just got a lot of coverage on
Yeah.
our Have you plugged a PS4 into an Xbox One yet? Does it work?
No, we haven't, but Digital Foundry have, and it worked, and then they didn't do anything with it.
Somebody was playing Killzone on an Xbox this morning. Dun, dun,
But-
dun,
yeah,
dun, 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 dun,
I
dun,
plugged the
dun.
Wii U into the
Apparently,
Xbox.
isn't
Didn't
the-
work.
Doesn't it lag too hard to...
Nah, of course he does, but why are you doing that? Don't do that. I'm not being horrible, just don't do that.
No, plug it in, take a screenshot,
Yeah, then
tweet
stop-
it,
stop.
and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
just go
then-
and play
then
the
Someone
stop.
did
game.
that with Mario, didn't they? And then
Yeah.
tweeted, "Oh, the game of the generational year."
Mm.
Trollololol.
Here's an interesting question. If the Wii U keeps selling poorly, which it probably will, should Nintendo follow Sega and become a third-party
No.
publisher?
No.
I don't think it'll happen.
Please never let that happen.
I don't, or it says, or concentrate on 3DS. To be honest, what you need to remember is the 3DS is actually making them quite a decent amount of money now.
Loads.
And they just
Yeah.
taken
So
over
they're fine.
the number of units sold compared to the Wii. Hasn't the 3DS
Oh
just
yeah,
taken over
3DS
the Wii?
massive, absolutely massive now, absolute beast.
The Wii U could have a comeback.
It
but
could have a comeback, but even if it doesn't, just keep
Don't call it a comeback.
Just keep making
Oh, they will.
consoles
They
into.
will.
Don't ever, because then I have to chop my arm off. I don't know why. I just do.
Nintendo are a toy maker. They've always made toys.
Well, that's a
And
bet. Yeah, that one.
They started off making
Not what I said.
cards, and they've all made all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And sexy hotels.
It just so happens, and sexy hotels. They made a lot of
And
money in
sometimes
that.
baseball teams.
It's true.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is just, the Wii U is not such a good toy. It's got some great stuff about it, but,
Truth.
you know,
And that-
next time they'll be better.
And they you know, they'll never stop because you know Japan
got loads of
basically.
money.
They got loads of
Yeah.
money and Japan.
They've got so
yeah.
much money, and they haven't frittered it away on bollocks. In the same way the American games industry has just got really rich and immediately started paying Jay-Z to turn up to their fucking 6-year-old daughter's birthday party. Nintendo just gone,
someone in a Mario costume. Yeah, it'd be fun.
They just wheel out Charles Martinet, who I'm increasingly worried is insane. But I don't know for sure.
Yeah, they've just gone, we've just made billions of dollars. What should we do?
Yeah.
We'll just carry
Wheel
on.
out Charles
Just carry on.
Yeah, it's true.
Like
Very, very
secret
true.
millionaires. They'll be fine. I think everyone else is in more risk than they are. What's the biggest waste of money you've ever spent on video games? This is from Co-Mutiny.
Oh, I've got such a good one.
I think probably, I don't know. I didn't tend to waste that much money because I was a student and I was poor and I had to make smart choices. But probably the original Kinect, I didn't get anything out of it.
Yours worse than mine.
Mug.
That was bollocks, mate.
Yeah, I didn't. I paid a decent amount of money for it. Didn't get the games or the experience that I so desired.
Now see the key word here is waste, because waste obviously is a negative word. It sounds like the money you spend on said product you shouldn't have done. Now, I spent £54.99 on a GameCube version of Batman Begins by EA Games. And I would, if I said that I hated it, I would be lying. I oddly enjoyed it, so I don't say I wasted it.
I'm going to butcher the John Lennon quote,
bad.
but time that you enjoy wasting isn't time
It
wasted.
was awful. It was an awful, terrible game, but I got some enjoyment out of it.
Falcone.
And you can kill the last boss. You meet Liam Neeson, who is just Liam Neeson. He's not even Ra's al Ghul. You just punch him in the face. That's it. Game ends. One punch in the face. Brilliant.
Mine's a Mega Drive game. Wolverine Adamantium Rage.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah,
I remember that. I think I rented it.
Yeah,
Blockbuster video.
Well, it wasn't technically my money, but it was my money to spend. It was my parents' money. They were like, right. They're like, okay, we'll buy you a game. You can have one game. And I was like, well, obviously Wolverine's awesome. And I just kind of bought it sight unseen. The last game I bought like that was called Zero Tolerance, which I had got confused.
Zero Tolerance.
Remember, I didn't live in Britain at the time, so getting video game magazines was quite difficult. But Zero Tolerance, which I got completely confused in my tiny mind with a game called Body Count. So anyway, I bought it. And I was like, oh man, Body Count was like an Operation Wall style shooter. Loaded the game. I was like, oh man, this is actually like Doom. I mean, the viewing window was like an envelope like size, but it was so good as my first real encounter with like first person shooters. I love that game. So anyway, I felt confident that, Wolverine Adamantium Rage would be good.
No,
it was impossible.
No, it wasn't.
Didn't even get off the first level. So hard.
I was
so angry.
I remember because I loved at one point the only type of game I play would be like strategy games on PC.
Yeah,
like Command & Conquer got me into them so hard. And I remember buying Dark Reign and in retrospect,
names are amazing. Dark Reign.
Dark Reign interestingly got re-released on the, Microsoft's indie game service for the Xbox
Really?
360.
What?
Good grief. Because somebody basically just modded it to happen.
Yeah.
And I think Activision owned the rights to Dark Reign. But I think in a rare case of Activision being flippant about legal ownership, somebody just went, I've made it on indie games, can I put it on? And just went, yeah.
Who gives a shit? Yeah.
I think the Activision has gone, we're never going to make any money out of that ever again.
Do what you want.
So who gives a fuck?
What does Dark Reign even mean?
Dark Reign, as in rain, as in like rain of fire.
Oh, that's rubbish. I thought you meant like, okay, though, it's not as bad.
It was really hard though, because actually the thing is, in retrospect, it's actually quite fondly remembered because it was the first strategy game that actually had good AI.
Okay.
But as a child, it just fucked me over because I do my classic Red Alert thing of being like, well, here's my base, and I build the walls, here's my turrets, and then what they do is I build turrets defending my base, and instead of the enemy soldiers just walking towards the turrets like
getting
idiots
killed
and dying, they would send units that could outrange my turrets.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Give me flashbacks to the first time I played Warcraft 3 online. I did the classic. Yeah, you know what? We'll build a normal base,
build some big turrets outside, and then you just get.
It was over.
Yeah, that was it. Dark Reign was the first game that was like playing against.
That doesn't sound like a waste. That sounds like.
Oh no, that wasn't a waste. I just thought it was interesting. It was mental in the fact that I think a lot of people. It was one of those rare cases where they made the AI really good and they realised it was too good because it was like playing against a human who was better than you, and faster than you.
So it wasn't fun.
It wasn't fun at all. Biggest waste for me, I've said this before, was I bought 2 copies of Phantasy Star Online Part 3 on the GameCube. So
why did you buy 2? Just in case?
Because I thought it was rare.
Oh, I see. Well, no, that's all right. That makes sense.
I saw them in a game
fine.
shop in my uni town when I was in Canterbury. I bought them in game, and I think they were 15 quid a pop. So I spent 30 quid. And as a student,
that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money now.
But I thought they were rare, and I thought they were mispriced. And I bought 2 copies of it, and then I got home and realised that it wasn't rare, and also it wasn't very good.
Was it worth 15 quid?
To be honest, this is the reason why it's a waste. I bought 2 copies of that game. Never played it. Never played either.
Really?
Of them. They just sat on my shelf. I might even still have them.
Oh, they could be worth a fortune.
No, because it's not a good game. That's the problem. Is PSO stuff.
It's like I thought Dark Chronicle was worth loads. I own a copy of that. It's worth fucking nothing.
No,
drives me nuts.
Was that second one?
Yeah.
I thought that was worth quite a bit.
Is it?
Yeah, because that one was quite
I thought
rare.
it wasn't. I've still got it. It
Yeah.
does have a number 8 written on the manual because it was second hand from Game Station.
JRPGs still have good value.
I hope so.
They're really hard to
I'm never
find.
selling that game. No, I love it.
Yeah, it's kind of shit, but there's so much about it that is amazing.
You know what? I went and tried to play it a couple of years ago because I played it and I thought, it wasn't what I remember it being. But at the time, I remember it was my favorite game ever. So
It's one of the
I'll
things
stick with that
where,
memory.
Like, the thing is, like, grinding in RPGs is often described as like a really negative thing. But some games, if they get the magic just right,
Yeah, they did. They
you're
did
like,
well.
I remember just going through the same dungeons over and over again to get the coins so I could upgrade my weapons.
Yeah,
mutate
and it
my
was
weapons.
they were random dungeons as well, so they kind of got away with it. But it also made the dungeons boring, obviously, because when you have random dungeons,
Yeah.
they keep it quite basic.
Still,
about
it
what
was
you get.
really close to being like,
Oh, I loved it. I really
amazing,
loved it.
yeah.
I had that amazing golf game at the end of each level.
oh, what the hell was that
I know,
about?
so
We
good.
had to hit the golf balls through the dungeon.
Yeah, and you have to use the portals and stuff.
Steve's got the same.
That was
question as
so
me.
weird. That was so great. We're doing a Dark Chronicle podcast, and no one's going to listen to it, but it's happening. It's not happening. I'm not going to do that.
I would like to play Dark Chronicle again.
I've got it somewhere. Very
Bring
good.
it in, bring
Yeah.
it in. Okay, so I can't read that tweet because it barely has any punctuation in it. So I'm gonna.
I think that's why I picked it, to be honest. Just 'cause
Yeah,
it was
I think
difficult.
that's actually a regular tweet.
Punctuation we like.
Yeah, I do like punctuation. Actually, I'm 90% more likely to understand you if you
and
use
ask questions.
punctuation.
Do we have tweet questions?
We do have got a few actually. I have some
Love
really
tweet
good questions.
questions.
So we'll do a few more. Bum, 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 bum,
It's like the VideoGamer.com waiting music.
Yeah.
If you ring us, you get Matt just doing the bombs.
Fucking do.
Yeah, you get the fucking as well. This is what you get. It offends a lot of people, but you got to do what you
My mum was
do.
on hold the other day. Didn't go down.
I
well.
told you to stop letting your mum ring the office.
This is an interesting
Dave's
one,
spoken
actually.
to my mum.
We've kind of covered this, but I think it's an interesting quick one. Do you think this has been the worst next-gen release yet in terms of games or just squabbles?
No, I think it's the same. It's the same because I was thinking about the Xbox 360 PS1, like we mentioned, and I remember feeling pretty much the same as I did now. I think I was more excited because I was younger. I don't mean that, or when you get older, you get cynical, but I just think it
You
was.
do, though, yeah.
Well, maybe, but maybe it was just easier to be excited about it. But
Bigger
in terms,
jump last time.
and it was a bigger jump because it was HD TVs, and I had an HD TV, so I thought, oh my god, how good! And it did. I put Oblivion on, and I looked at the difference between standard def and high def, and it blew my brain.
Oblivion blew in my mind.
Yeah. So actually, Oblivion was a launch game, wasn't it?
Was it?
Just
No,
after, I think.
it
That was
just
March.
after.
That was March. Right, 6 months later. Okay, but
But yeah, I mean, I remember the first time I saw a 360 in HD was Oblivion. And I remember just sitting in my
Fight
mate.
Night as well.
oh yeah, of course,
incredible.
that's the difference. Whereas now
Yeah.
it all looks very good, but I've kind of been spoiled by what people show me on PCs. Like somebody showed me Bioshock Infinite running on a PC the other day. Good grief!
I think this is the major thing, is the fact that there's this weird disconnect between press and consumers at the moment, just because of the fact that as press, we are exposed to PC stuff a lot more often. Even actually, it's worth saying that when we go to press events, like even last
they're all
year,
secret PCs.
Yeah, even last year for Borderlands 2, I remember going to play Borderlands 2 preview before the Borderlands 2 came out, and it was being played on badass PCs, on badass
Same
monitors.
with Bioshock Infinite.
And it's like,
Absolutely
yeah, you're playing it on a 360 pad, but I remember, because I was working at IXM at the time, and I remember just looking at what Borderlands 2 looked like on PC, and I'd seen what Borderlands 2 looked like on console, and it was like, holy fuck, this looks amazing.
Yeah,
Like, it
yeah,
looks
it's
so
true.
shit on 360. And I think because a lot of people, obviously, our job, we get exposed to that really often, whereas most people might have never even seen a PC
Yeah,
running
so they
games
get
before
more
that.
excited
It's
about
all
it, which is good.
relative.
Which is good.
It is.
I remember the first time I ever played Doom was the SNES version. Now, to me, that was incredible because although some of my friends had PCs that could run it, the 486, 386,
Oh, 486, man.
the SNES version of Doom was in a box, like it was bordered.
Yeah.
It had no textures on the floor or ceilings. Half the levels were cut, and I was like, shit, I'm playing Doom.
Yeah.
And I think that if you've not got a badass PC, you've not seen all that, you will come to Killzone, for example, and go, fuck me, that looks a lot
I
better.
think games like Killzone Rise will really, really blow your
Yeah.
brains.
And ignorance is bliss. I'm kind of jealous. I'm not one of these people who hasn't seen anything like that, so
Yeah,
I
that's
can't just
true.
look at Killzone and go.
So yeah, maybe that's why I was working in games. I wasn't a journalist, so maybe that's why I was more excited because what was I doing when I was looking at Sony writing
Well,
manuals.
even then, like PC games did still look
Yeah.
better, but PC games were like a niche in themselves. Whereas now, the games you get on PC are just the same. They're just
Yes,
games.
correct.
Like there's no difference. Like I'm gonna play. I'm tempted to get PS4 for Assassin's Creed 4, but then I was like, hang on a minute, I'll just buy Assassin's Creed 4 on PC
and it look better.
and play it with a 360 pad.
Yeah, living the dream.
Done.
I was going to say it was kind of interesting to see, like, this is the first launch. A few people have been talking about actually that social media has played such a big role in, and you do kind of get a better feeling for particularly within just the media, like the opinions that are going around, the kind of general reaction to each of the games, and it's different than even with the last generation.
That's true. There was no Twitter then, was there?
With the PlayStation 4 has had a few technical problems with some of the launch consoles.
That's been blown out of proportion.
Apparently, it was under 1%, and yet because the moment, like, everyone that had a problem with their PlayStation 4 would go straight to Facebook, straight to Twitter, and get it out there, and it seemed like there was a much bigger problem at first than it necessarily was, and people were freaking out. So
they're like, oh, look at all these. There's 100 people.
I wonder how much of an
100
effect.
people. 1 million consoles on 100 people have probably fucking
It's exactly
terrible.
the same as the other day. I had to buy an airbed, right? And I went on Amazon, and it's like, it turns out that, like, it's really hard to get airBeds that are really good because most of them have really bad reviews. Because it's like most of them, 20% of the reviews are going, this went down after one night. This one
it's a lot of good. They won't put good reviews.
It's like,
on it.
how many people buy an airbed, a cheapo airbed, and then go back a week going, oh, my friend's had a fantastic sleep. Like,
It's true.
You just
That's
don't.
very
You just
true.
hear from the people who've got a broken one.
I've got a weird question. I know we're doing questions. You're about to talk about something. I'm about to talk about something silly.
Oh no, I was just going to say.
You say something
I remember
important.
back with the 360. Like, a lot of my main experience about what other people were thinking were talking to my friends, like, around their houses whilst we played the 360. Like, it's a different experience now. I wonder if that changes it. But yeah, silly.
No,
Go.
I just want, if you own a copy of World Tour Soccer 2 on the PSP, can you just send me a message, please? Thank you.
That's not silly. That's kind of heartwarming.
It's a silly reason.
What kind of message?
I can't actually say why I need to know that.
Okay.
Just let me know you have it. That's all I want to know. Thank you. Next on.
All right. That was a service announcement from Mr. Miller.
Exactly.
On with the show. This is an interesting one, actually. Why does 30 seconds of Mario footage make me want a Wii U more than the next Xbox consoles? Am I that shallow? You're not shallow. You're just sensible.
A, you've picked up on a good game, and B, we're going to enter disgusting territory here, but you've seen the Nintendo Magic, which does exist.
It does exist.
You know, I mean, Magic doesn't, but the Nintendo Magic does. And yeah, that's what they do. They
I
have
get
a way
annoyed, right?
to...
I got
it's
really
nostalgia
annoyed.
as
You
well.
get a lot of this in comment sections, but whenever I've been down on the Wii U, right, and then you see people going, yeah, fuck that kiddie shit. It's like, no, it's just a piece of hardware that is sadly doomed for dull financial reasons. It's like, I fucking love kiddie stuff. I think the best game of last generation was Viva Pinata.
And Mario looks amazing as well. Like, don't get me wrong, this is the... bad choice of words here, but the first proper Mario. It's not, but it is, you know, in the way they've actually sat down and gone, what can we do with high definition stuff? Like, when he got 2 speeds of run this time, so your normal run, if you keep going, he speeds up and smoke starts coming out of his... And you actually look at the smoke. If you want to be that good, it's amazingly sort of lovely hand-drawn...
Smoke starts coming out of his what?
Boots.
Ah, right, okay, cool. Just checking. Needed to clarify that.
But it looks really nice. The game looks really, really nice. And you've seen the waxy...
It looks lovely.
Dinosaur.
The waxy dinosaur made me feel young again.
Exactly, and that's why I think so-and-so, I can't remember your name, feels so good.
It was Ian Lambert. But no, I think it's just
Ian
sensible.
Lambert.
I mean, we've been down a lot of stuff lately, but I think it's just, at the moment, I just think if you really want a new console for this Christmas, I think the Wii U is not a bad shout.
If you get a Wii U and a 3DS and you just play Zelda or Mario, you'll feel like a 12-year-old again.
3DS is badass, man. Anyway,
Console of the year.
A lot of people recently actually have been saying, because we've been giving the 3DS a lot of love, a lot of people have been saying, what games should I get? I haven't been ignoring you on Twitter. It's just that it's really hard to fit lots of game names into tweets. And at some point before Christmas, we will make a video.
We're doing that thing, aren't we? Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Me and Miller will definitely make a video which will just be like talking about all the great games on 3DS and what sort of games they are. Like a quick rundown, like sort of review thing, because a lot of people don't know. Anyway, onwards. This is a quick question for you, Miller. Read the new Zelda podcast. If you didn't listen to that, we did a Zelda special last week. If you're a Zelda fan,
that.
I'd really recommend it. It was a lot of fun. Is there a swap quest in the new Zelda game? He says it's vital.
Kind of.
Kind of.
Not in the way it usually does it, but it still does do it in a certain way. So let's say kind of.
The hell's a swap quest?
Well, you have to give the item to this person who gives you that item, then you give the item to someone else who gives the item.
Ah,
and so
right,
on
yeah,
and so
okay.
forth.
Swap
that was
quest, dude,
a
come on.
Majora's Mask thing, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes, but not as intricate as it has been in the past.
Okay.
Ben Skipper asks a couple of questions about consoles and then finishes with this doozy. Do you keep ketchup in the fridge?
No.
Yes.
Once I've used it, weirdly, I don't know.
That's the correct answer, really. Because I didn't used to, and then I
keep
read
it in the fridge. Why would you keep it in the fridge?
because apparently you're
there's
supposed to
sugar in
keep
it.
it in the
Yeah.
fridge, And if you don't, lots of people get ill every year from eating ketchup because they haven't put it in the fridge.
Just saved your life, big guy.
Well, I don't eat that much kitchen. I don't eat that much ketchup, but I've always kept it in.
Yeah, I did as well.
Saying that though, my mum, and I love my mum with all my heart, but she doesn't keep mayonnaise in the fridge.
Whoa.
And that's weird. She doesn't, but that makes more sense to me to keep that in the fridge.
Literally made of eggs.
I know, and she keeps it, but you eat it and it always tastes all right. You're like, Mum, I'm not 100% sure what we're doing here is right, but yeah, she keeps it.
It's made of eggs, Mum.
I know. She's mad.
It's eggs.
Not everyone keeps eggs in the fridge.
I don't keep eggs in the fridge.
Oh,
what?
Yeah, but I eat so many eggs.
No. That's different. That's different. You don't need to keep...
Yeah, Braz, it's different.
No. This is an interesting fact.
Oh, right, he's really serious. Sorry, I didn't realize.
This is an interesting fact I learned from an American friend of mine. Eggs, we don't keep them in the fridge, right? Americans do. And when Americans see that we don't keep eggs in the fridge, it freaks them the fuck out. Because basically, our eggs are immunized for salmonella, which means that we don't need to refrigerate them to keep them fresh because they're immunized.
I love these facts that make it so good.
No, it doesn't make a difference. It will keep them for longer.
Doesn't make a difference.
Doesn't make a difference.
I refuse to believe that.
Well,
I refuse to believe that. We need egg scientists.
Well, after you fucking read Wikipedia, you can come back and have this conversation.
Does that mean American eggs...
Now, this is the interesting part, right? The reason is that American eggs are not immunized for salmonella.
Wow.
Right? So they keep them in the fridge to keep them fresh because otherwise they're at risk of that. Yeah. And also, this is the interesting thing, this is why American eggs are always white. Because to make sure there's no traces of anything on the egg that might be salmonella, they sandblast them. So their answer is rather than immunizing them, which basically means that because it's my friend Quinn's goes out with Lee Alexander, and she came over to live in the UK recently, and had this thing of being like she saw a feather in one of the boxes, and she freaked the fuck out because that basically means they're like really unsafe. But because our chickens are all immunized, like it can't. Right. It's fine. Whereas in America, that would be a serious contamination and it would be like really dangerous.
Every podcast, I want it to end with a food fact or an egg fact. That is so interesting to me. I'm going to tell everyone that this weekend. They don't even know. Everyone gets that. That's brilliant.
And that's the other thing. Whenever you see American people in diners, which is this is a niche thing, like when they're cracking eggs into pans and stuff, they seem to do it with massive ease.
Yes.
It's because their eggs are thinner because they've been sandblasted. They're white eggs.
That's such good. You'll use this in the future. No, Everyone will use this information.
You're dissing my egg knowledge, bro. You're dissing my egg knowledge.
Braz, you've been embarrassed here.
You're like, I want a scientist on the show. And I'm like, well, I'm not a scientist, but I do know eggs.
That's a great fact.
I just don't know enough about eggs.
What's your egg fact then?
Look, I know loads about eggs and I didn't know that.
I eat
a lot of eggs. I don't know about them.
I've changed his life. I've done something special for another human being. Yeah. And you can't just take that.
Okay, I'll accept it. It's fine. Okay, I'm glad.
I just want you to be happy.
Still not keeping ketchup in the fridge.
You should do that. Solid question. There's so many questions. Thanks for all the questions. Oh no, this is a good one. Quick one. Who would win in a fight to the death? And I know the answer to this. It's quite specific. Who would win in a fight to the death between Molyneux and Miyamoto? This is from 35-bit Andy.
It's got to be a Miyamoto.
No, Molyneux.
Sure. Molyneux, yeah.
Why is
Molyneux? First, his name looks like it should be emblazoned on the side of a rocket in a Bond movie.
Yeah.
B, I know someone that's been to his house, and even in his own home, away from all the cameras and all the bullshit, he is crazy.
Really?
And he's got double doors on his house. No man.
What's double doors?
Like double front doors. Hello. Can you imagine Molyneux just opening?
Do you mean like a porch?
No, like proper mansion style.
Oh, I see.
Resident
Right,
Evil,
okay,
Barclay Mansion.
Yeah.
Come in. Dead. Yeah, motherfuckers killed at least 3 people as well. You don't get that rich, and you don't work within Microsoft and get out alive without capping at least.
Now,
we can't say that, can we? We definitely can't.
I'm not saying that Steve's facts there are inaccurate, but I'd say that also when I think of Molyneux, for some reason, I think of the protagonist from the book Consider Fleabag by Ian M. Banks, in which the guy's a shapeshifter who has fingernails that are highly poisonous, which means that when he has a fight with characters, right, it means they think they've lost, but all he needs to do is slightly scratch them, and within a couple of minutes they will be dead as fuck.
Like that blade from Deus Ex.
Yeah. So I think that actually Molyneux would appear to lose.
You think he's got poison claws?
I think he's a shapeshifter alien.
I think we need to make a few phone calls to the company solicitor following us.
We may have said some things.
Listen,
we made some accusations.
If David Icke was allowed to go around saying all that stuff about lizards and that, I think that it's not unreasonable for me to claim
Peter Molyneux
is a shapeshifter with poisonous claws.
All right,
it makes sense.
Okay,
look at the games. Judge for yourself.
All I had was Miyamoto. That's it. I didn't have anything else. So Molyneux.
Why was Fable 3 such a disappointment?
Poison claws.
Poison claws.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rest my case.
That didn't make any sense.
No, but it did, though, didn't it, really?
Thank you for listening to the podcast. I've been Matt Lees, joined by Simon Miller.
Oh, no, goodbye.
Steve Burns.
Bye.
And Chris Pratt.
Goodbye.
Bye.